In this video, I'll be going through the basics of using the town generator and then show you how to do some troubleshooting. So in this scene we have a terrain and then our town generator object. This is just an empty object with the town generator script on it. So first you'll see a few tabs here. General tab, we just have a random seed or random generator. And then we've got on the buildings tab, we've got a list of buildings that we want to have generated. So yeah, I'm going to add my buildings. Okay, so next we can set the amount of buildings we want generated. So I'm just going to leave that at 50 at the moment. And here for the random rotation, the generator will rotate the first building and then the next buildings will be aligned to the same rotation. And we can set the maximum terrain slope that we want our buildings placed on. And then next you can select the default process for smoothing out the terrain below each building. Next we have the path painting settings. So here I'm going to add path layer, terrain path layer that will be used. And the walkability step size is calculated when the generator runs, unless you want to change this. Please check the documentation about the rest of these settings here. Okay, and then next we've got the functions tab, which I'll do now, and then our debugging tab. So here on the debugging tab, there's just a few options that you can use to help with testing and making sure it works as you want. Okay, so back to functions. Add sector is a bit more advanced. I'll go into that later. And then here we've got our generation button and clear buildings button. So the generate button obviously just starts the process according to our settings. So I'm going to start that now. So the town generator actually does physics check each time it tries to place a building to make sure it has an open space, and also it checks the terrain slope to make sure it's according to our setting, and then also on each attached point it checks the maximum height difference to make sure that it isn't higher than what is set. Okay, so there our buildings have been generated. You'll notice the terrain hasn't been modified. So what we do next is run the terrain modification process, which is the flatten below buildings run default process. So the default process will go through smoothing below the building and then at the doors, and then also a hard upwards. That's the default. So we're just going to run that quick. Okay, so let's see what this looks like now. Okay, so I'm not seeing any issues there, so I'm going to run the path painter. So the path painter first calculates a walkability map on the terrain around all the buildings according to the settings under path painting. Then it uses an A-star pathfinding technique to create paths. Okay, and there we go. So I did see one building here with a bit of a slope issue. So what we can do now is to select the building and then use the building script to raise terrain for that building. So I'm just checking all this. Okay, so on the building script there's some functions here under the functions tab. So you can run the default process by using this button here, or we can run each process separately. So I'm just going to try this one. Okay, so there you can see it's lifted the terrain. And then there's still an issue for the next building. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that the amount to lower below building isn't correct. So that's our setting over here. So I'm going to change this to just 0.1 and then quickly test it for this building. Okay, we can make it even more. Ah, there we go. Now we've got the floor. So same thing for this building. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to change that setting for all these buildings and then just rerun the process. So first I'm clearing all the buildings and then clean this terrain up. Just gonna smooth out the terrain again. Okay, so let's just fix these buildings. And then rerun the generator. Okay, next let's do the smoothing process. And check that it's working this time. Okay, now let's paint the paths. And there we go. Okay, so yeah, we've got a building that we need to fix, so let's just select it again, use the functions. So it looks like I'm going to have to play around with these settings on each individual building to get this working just right. Looks like this building's settings weren't the same as the others. That might be the problem in the first place. So let's see. It's coming a bit closer. Now at least we haven't properly opened the door. I'm happy with that. It's not perfect, but it should be fine. That looks better. And that's it. I think that sorts out most of the issues. And that's how we get a pretty decent randomly generated town.